Okay, we have here a pretty interesting old rifle about 40 years ago. It is a Palmetto Armory. Now this is not to be confused with Palmetto State Armory, that company now down in South Carolina. The receiver is marked Palmetto Armory. It was actually manufactured, the lower receiver was manufactured in Texas by a company called BH Services. And on the receiver it says BH15A1, Palmetto Armory. And also, we'll look at the markings later, there is another address on this receiver. I believe the receivers were made by this company in Texas. I remember them in the Shotgun News way back in the early 80s, 79, 80. And it's Olympic Firearms is probably the company that assembled this gun. But the receiver itself was made by this B&H Services under the name and symbol Palmetto Armory. I believe this was the first of the commercial civilian model AR-15s you could buy that were not made by Colt. Okay, the Colt, the early Colt civilian ones, I had one, did not have a forward assist on it. Okay, and it had the Colt finish on there, which is a little bit different. This gun basically looks like a bunch of surplus parts built on this lower receiver, which is billeted and machined, by the way. This is not a forging or casting. Interesting old gun. It came my way. I got to do a little tune-up on it, clean it up and look at it. But very strange, and we'll kind of go in here and take a look at this gun a little bit closer. Alright, first thing we notice, it has the M16A1 style stocks, you know, without the spacer. And this lower receiver is the early style. Doesn't have, I guess they call it a fence. All you aficionados and experts out there will know what version this is. But this is machined out of billet. You can see the machining marks if you examine it closely. And we do have the A1 style teardrop forward assist. The original rear sight is on there that you had to dial in with the bullet. 2-position apertures. The old triangular hand guards. This does take a bayonet, sling swivels, but it does not have a duckbill type. I think they call that the old birdcage style. Doesn't have the duckbill. And also, unlike a Colt, you can, this takedown will come out and you can remove it from the upper and lower receiver, where a Colt, that is not, it only pushes out in the back and this stays stationary. So it has that older style finish on there, dust cover, all the other fun stuff. You know, the open top hand guards and the standard M16 to get it in the light there, front sight, adjustable for elevation. And yes, it has no markings on the barrel on the top. The markings are on the bottom. Now we'll flip it around, take a look. I'm going to try to focus in on the markings, but they're very light over time and they're hard to see. And I hope they get this security thing done so I can upload this with a good high resolution. But that's the Palmetto Armory symbol. There's the scroll marks or whatever you want to call it, the roll. And there's your, trying to get that, 15A. And there's a better shot of it. Get the light and everything focused just right. See, this camera's acting up. Alright, there we go. And also something interesting, there's the Olympic arms marking up here. And you see the safe and fire. And then the safety actually has a fence or something right down there to where you can't push that lever back. Even if you install the parts full auto, it's blocked. It's pretty interesting they did that. They were so afraid that you'd turn this into an automatic weapon all the way back when. And if you look at the detail in this, you could see where this thing is machined. You see it up in here. It's billeted and it's machined out. I believe it has that standard charging handle. That's some interesting stuff. It's a little bit different. This older gun. I tried getting the roll on there, or the markings. So let's take a look at the rest of it. Like I said, standard M16A1 style thing. And then I'll turn this around and I'll show you the markings that are on the underside of the barrel. Usually they'll stamp the twist rate in that. And this probably is the old 1 in 12 twist rate on this. I'm not going to be able to get it into focus, but right there is a C, an M and P, and a B. So all you experts out there probably know what that means. I don't. I may have seen that on old rifles before, but we'll take a look at the bottom of it. It's pretty standard, the M16 trigger guard. And it's got this weird sling on there. I remember them from back in the old days, where you'd latch that through the front sight, and that way you can carry it across your chest. Alright, let's take her apart and take a look. Okay, weapon is clear. Safety on. And this thing does go together kind of tight. Gonna need a bullet or punch or something to give it a little hand getting out there. Yeah, man, that's tight. Bust off all my fingernails. Yep, that one's fairly tight too. Hold on a sec. Okay, it's hard for me to keep it on the camera. Man, it's tight. Okay, there we go. Got them out. So, standard AR-15 bolts. Operating handles. Now this thing, you gotta watch it. You gotta make sure when you put it back together, put the dust cover up, because when you try to pivot it down, you'll see it hits. They tried it. It hits down along here. So the dust cover's got to be closed. Zoom in a little. Standard old school gun. This one's been used a while. Even the finish on the bolt, I've looked at it, it's worn. This gun's had a lot of rounds through it over the past 40 years, but still in good shape. Here's a look at the internals. And this is machined. Pretty rugged, pretty nice too. Nice lower receiver. I don't know how collectible they are. I've looked around and people said these are not on the top of the list of collectibles as per original early version Colts and that. So I don't know what the value of this firearm is. But we can see, now we can see that where that fence is, where that added piece here. So you could not physically turn this selector to full auto. I guess that was an early design feature that reassured people that you couldn't convert one of these into a machine gun. And these things were expensive. A brand new Colt cost like close to $500 back in 78, 79. And a lot of people didn't have money for that. You could buy a nice damn Remington hunting rifle for $300 back then. And another thing that's interesting about this is it does have the trapdoor in here. I'm going to open that up and show you what's in there. And that's the standard latch. You depress it. And I believe they still have an original cleaning kit stuffed inside. I don't think that thing's been out of there in 4 years. But we'll take a look at this up close. And it's rubberized. It says Case Accessories 844-8751 on it. And like I said, I don't think this thing's been opened in 40 years. You see. Gotta try to remember how it all goes back in there. Oh, there's a muzzle cover. I think those are the type you can just shoot off. Slots. And don't want to come on. I guess I'm going to have to coax each and every piece out of there one by one. Okay, there's your cleaning rod with the folding handle section. Another section. There we go. They're all coming out now. Okay, cleaning rod folding handle. One section, two sections, three sections. A brass brush, an oil bottle, a little muzzle cover. I think, yep, nylon brush. Should be a chamber brush. What else is up in there? Sorry about that, it's just my hands and the way all this goes. I know the suspense is killing you. Ah! Ooh, this is GI. It says M16, M16A1 rifle maintenance card. Minimal essential care during combat use. The instruction booklet. Huh. That's pretty wild. This thing's probably worth something on its own. I've never seen one of these, but it's just a card folded up like this. It tells you the magazine, barrel, receiver, lubrication. Warning, do not fire a weapon that has water trapped in the bore. Chamber cleaning. That's pretty wild. It has an actual US GI instruction card in there also. That's a pretty neat deal. It must have been a complete surplus, original military surplus kit that came with it. Oil and everything. Still in there after 40 years in the brush. That's pretty neat. It's a pretty interesting find. Now I got to try to shove it all back in there and get it back in the gun before I return it. Alright, I'm going to close this up. Like I said, this is not my weapon. I am doing some maintenance on it for somebody. It's pretty interesting. I don't believe the individual knows what he has. I will inform them now that I've done the research in that. Hopefully after I do my overhaul and cleanup, I might get out here by the end of the week and take this out to the range and put a few rounds through it. Guarantee the owner that everything is all right with it. So that's our look at this early civilian AR-15 rifle. I hope you enjoyed it.